think a lot of times like sales guys, when they're sucking and they're in their own little like victim mentality, like y'all do, we want to throw rocks. Well, he's shady, or he did it in this long, like, or if I could sell mosquito, whatever, right? And I'm like, older people to younger people to door knockers to lead gen guys. I mean, it's like the reality is go figure out how to go put deals in and stop making excuses about why you're not putting deals in. That's just it. Like I don't think all salespeople are created equal. I think you give 10 homes to one guy and 10 homes to another guy, and there's an extremely different outcome that happens with the same people.
Welcome everybody to the D2D podcast. We're switching things up right now. We got
role reversal.
Sam, have you ever even been on your own podcast in this way?
I have never been in my own podcast. This is the first time. So if you're listening, you've got Roz in the house, D2D host, interviewing me, the prior D2D host, to this podcast. So this will be really good. I'm excited to see what's coming in the future, what's coming down the pipe.
Oh, we're all super excited. I mean, obviously, we wanted to kick this off as like the Golden Door Deep Dive podcast. Summer's come to a close. People are getting their golden doors left and right. And honestly, we just feel this excitement and this energy for D2D 7. Kind of like, not like any other previous year, honestly. It's just like everyone's getting on board. Everyone's getting on the train.
We had 15 VIP tickets sold yesterday. Like,
yeah, just one dude.
Some random roofer. He goes, yeah, let's roll. Like, this will be the biggest event ever that one Door's ever seen. Solar roofing, all of them. Plus, just the amount of people getting these awards. Plus the speaker lineup. Yeah. I'm excited about this year.
It's gonna be nuts. So, I'm currently your host. I'm Roz, and my little bit of background. I've been working for Sam for a little more than a year.
Hit his year mark.
Yep, hit my year mark not too long ago. I did D2D for 3 years. So hit my stride, learned a couple things. Sam has taken me on as his one of his proteges, I guess you could say. It's been a big blessing to be mentored by Sam. And Sam, we were talking about D2D Con. I really just want to dive into that real quick. Like, why is everyone as excited as they are? What are we expecting this year?
I think a lot of people don't realize the impact it has on the industry. There's a lot of new people. Like, I think of door to door, high turnover, a lot of new faces. And so if you're listening to this, you're like, I just got into door to door 3 months ago. Well, you probably haven't seen the history of door to door con and D2Dexperts. And in 2017, I'm sitting on a rock being like, we need, like, had this revelation, and nothing's changed. It's like, we need to unify, up level, bring honor and integrity to the door-to-door space. And what Door-to-Door Con has done, and now it's actually seeing that mission come to fruition and seeing all of the impact that it's had has been really cool. So to kind of break it down in its core, nothing's changed other than it's gotten more dialed, better speakers, better people, bigger network, bigger vendors, bigger, you know what I mean? Like, there's such a bigger dent to where it's kind of like, if you're in door to door and you're in leadership, you're an owner, or you're building a team, or you're somebody who wants to be a top performer, we've all been told to go surround yourself where the best are and go learn from the best. And so the mantra has always been, come as a team, learn as a team, leave as a tribe. And that's kind of the main focus at Door to Door Con. And we can go into the nitty gritties, but that's kind of it.
Yeah. And year over year, I mean, you've seen some massive growth in the event. The 2017 first year doing it, how many people were in attendance?
We had 800 people at our first event.
And that was tiny compared to this last D2D Con 6, where we had over 3,000 people.
Yes.
Every vendor booth was taken. It was a massive event.
Super cool. We had Jordan Peterson, Tom Billio, David Meltzer. Like, for anybody that hasn't been, we've had Ed Milet to, John Maxwell to Bradley to all Jesse Itzlers to Eric Thomas. Like, we've had so many amazing speakers, and the lineup this year I hand selected to be champions in the sense of Phil Heath 7-time. Like, and I'm not talking like, oh, I won a championship one time. Like, it's Phil Heath 7-time Mr. Olympian. It's, Shaun White, multiple Olympian. You have Chris Voss, who's never split the difference. He's not like champion negotiator. I just thought it'd be fun to bring in some sales language. But then you have Lance Armstrong, who won the Tour de France many, many times over. And so it's like, what's the mentality of somebody who wants to not just win, but win over and over and over again? And that's who I'm actually excited to highlight from a Golden Door standpoint. Like Cody Olive just hit his 5th Golden Door. You have guys that are like on year 5, year 6, every year winning Golden Doors. Those are the kind of people that I have like mad respect for, because some people might be like one-hit wonders, and then some people might go, man, I do this every year. It's just who I am.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to teach.
And I've heard you talk about this frequently. It's like you want to be that steady Eddie that is just consistent. Consistency over intensity.
100%.
So let's get into that, the Golden Door then. So like if you've never, first time door-to-door rep, or you're brand new to D2Dexperts and what we do, walk us through, what is the Golden Door Award?
Yeah, it's funny, like I just made it up. I made a logo, called it the Golden Door. It's the lion head, it's the alpha, it's the top 1%. And the reason that we built the Golden Door was simple. It was like, so many people out there have been like, I'm the top rep in this company, or I'm the top this guy, or I sold more than this. And in alarms, you'd get these guys that would sell fell credits, and then the $39.99 versus these guys selling it for $80 a month. And you're like, well, what's better? And, it was always this bash. And I was like, bro, like, what if we just put here's the metrics, and we've actually increased metrics in multiple industries every year. And this is what it takes to be in the top 1%. And in alarms, it's 400. And I personally did that because like the year I was number 1 at Vivint, there's 3,000 people there. I did 400 alarms. And I think that's probably one of the hardest. Like, we have the smallest amount of alarm Golden Door winners every year. And it's so fun. And mad respect. We have a couple people that hit it in Canada. So big shout out to Legacy out in Canada. And we've seen people hitting it each year, every year, that have already hit it this year. So then solar, it started out at a megawatt, and it was like you install 1,000 watts, and that's what it was. But then we started to see, that wasn't that hard. People were earning double Golden Doors and triple Golden Doors, and we were like, this is dumb. So we moved it up to 130 installs. Didn't matter about kilowatts, because if I'm selling in Cali, it's different than selling in Utah than selling in Texas. And so then we said it's 130 installs. Well, then what happened is these setter closers, you got these virtual guys that get 5 appointments fed to them all day. That's very different than if I'm out self-generating, knocking cold doors.
You're knocking 9 to 9. Yeah, that guy's getting a different result than the other guy.
So if you have questions on solar, we broke it down to a point system. That's a new change this year. And I've still yet to see many solar people submitting for their Golden Door. You've seen a lot of pests because season just ended. But I think over the next couple of weeks, you're going to start seeing some solar Golden Doors trickle in. What that looks like is if you're a setter, meaning you just knock and set appointments, you get 200 sets that install, not just sets that close. It's sets that pull through and go to the roof. Then you get a Golden Door. If you're a closer and you don't ever get a referral, you never knock your own door, you're 100%. I show up to lead, I show up to close, and that's all I do. You have to install 200 on your own. Or there's somewhere in between. So it's 100 self-generated deals, meaning I set it, I close it, that's 1 point. It's a half a point if you just do half of the sale. I fully believe half of the sale is the marketing end, which is the lead generation, and half of the sale is closing. I actually see that too many of these closers are getting so much hype. It was really frustrating because I'm like, yeah, but you just showed up 4 appointments. You like it would be hard to, like, any good sales guy would get a Golden Door. Like, guys were hitting 300 installs, and I'm like, yeah, but you didn't get all the. It was just frustrating. Like, I was overly frustrated, and so we moved it. We made it harder for the closer and easier for the setter. Because in my mind, if I'm a setter, I'm like doing the grunty, hot, sweaty days. And like, you've gone out and knocked. Like, I mean, to set and have 100 installs, I think isn't that hard.
Yeah, and I think we underestimate too. It's like, or we undervalue the power of a setter as well. It's like we're teeing these deals up. Yeah. We're setting them up. We're warming them up. We're making sure that they're good to go when they're ready for install. And it's a great first point of contact, because how many points of contact do you need before a sale happens? Several, right? So
I want to give a shout out to like Michael Thuft and Eric Linden, who are in our Circle Mastermind. And let's just like conceptualize them. They both run a business in Arizona. And they said, like, why don't we just tag team and both try to, and Mike, you're going to sell 50 deals this month. So right now in September, they're trying to hit 50, Michael. But Eric, his business partner, and they run a massive solar company, his business partner is his setter. So I think a lot of times people look at that and go, I'm above setting. I'm too cool for knocking. And I'm like, no. If they're splitting the deal and Homeboy's going and closing all the deals, Homeboy's setting, Eric could probably set 5 to 15 appointments every day. Michael can say, good, back him up every 30 to 40 minutes, and I'll have no shows. I'll have follow-up. I'll have whatever. I'll have you go back, maybe help on the overflow. But like working as a team on that, it's like that's a really smart play. And that's how you're starting to see these big numbers every month in solar.
Yeah, and I'm really glad we shifted that model to, emphasize the setter and to emphasize kind of everybody in it, because it's no walk in the park getting a Golden Door award.
No, and it shouldn't be. We had too many people on the stage. It shouldn't be easy.
That being said, so we're seeing, companies like Grit that have like almost like 30 plus guys getting these Golden Door awards. Massive shout out.
Impressive.
So that's $650,000 of revenue generated in a 4-month span of time.
Well, let's talk about the history of the pest. So it used to be 1,000 accounts. Well, then what would happen is the guy that would do 1,000, he'd do a 400 contract value. Well, if you're paid on a percentage, which most pest control people are, so then you're like, okay, I'm going to do 1,000 pest at 400. That's 400,000 serviced. Or I'm going to do 500 pest at 700. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you're 500 at 1,000 contract value. You know what I mean? Like, what's worth more? Well, to the company, to you as a commission. So we change it to serviced or 1,000 accounts, meaning that guy that just is like, I'm throwing them in high volume. Good for you. Like, I mean, the account's an account. Companies aren't going to be against having
Hustle's
that.
the hustle.
Hustle's the hustle. So good for you. What was buck wild is when I did that, everybody's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of gave Grit an advantage because they were selling at the highest contract value back when they were at GreenX. And they were like, no, we're just raising the bar. What's interesting, I just watched Garth put this video together. He said, last year, like I'm talking a year ago, in Complete Aptive, they had like an average of it was like a 600 contract value, which is still better than when I first started in pest control, right? Yeah. And now I think they moved it up to like an 800 and something average contract value as an entire company. To up every contract by $200, like think of the revenue difference, the commission difference, when guys are averaging $1,000 to $1,500 contract values, like these top performers that are hitting these Golden Doors, you're paid on a commission. So if I have a $1,500 contract value, I'm making fat stack every deal. That's a good deal.
This is life-changing money for people too. And not only that, you're doing your customers a favor too. I mean, a lot of people will throw rocks at high contract for pest control. It's like times change, the product changes. Sometimes we need to up the price to up the value of the product that we're providing for people.
Go buy a truck today versus buying a truck 4 years ago.
It's different.
It's way more expensive. I mean, it's just, how do you provide more value, give more, and charge more for it and not diminish what you're doing? Where I think a lot of sales guys, they get stuck in this, like, I got to sell for the cheapest. To me, that's a really lazy, poor trained sales guy. That's why we focus so much on the training, is because every company that invests in their training and uses D2Du, or every rep that says, I'm going to sign up for this online training, is we want to teach you to how to sell it at the highest level. Hence why I have Drew Hansen in there and Cody, like all of these guys are in our training platform. Josh Zunico, who did 1,500 accounts. And you got Dan, who did 1,000 5 years in a row, like 5-time Golden Door winner. Like you just get the guys. It's like, how do you do it at a high rate to maximize dollars?
Exactly. So that all being said, do you think it's time to raise the bar for pest control?
You've had a double Golden Door in pest one other time, so Drew Hansen. But I got to give you a shout out to Zach, coming in hot this year, getting a double Golden Door, and we might have a second one in pest. I've never seen double Golden Door alarms. I've seen them now in solar, so we upped it. I don't know. I think somebody would have to sell me on it, but I think we may up it to 700 to 750.
We might have to. I think the 4-minute mile has clearly been broken in pest control.
Yep. Stage gets bigger and bigger every year.
Gets bigger and bigger. So I don't know. Someone will have to sell Sam on it.
Comment below if you're watching this on Facebook Live. I want to see the comments. Thoughts on every industry's Golden Door. And what's cool is we're adding a fiber for 2025. That's a big up and coming market We're adding real estate, insurance, and HVAC. So we just added all of those things to our online training platform. So we have vertical sales training that's industry specific. There's a lot of sales trainers out there that are like, I'm going to train on sales, Grant Cardone, but he doesn't actually go into like the nuts and bolts of how to sell pest control. He doesn't go into the nuts and bolts of how to sell roofs, which is good to have general. His stuff's really good, but I want to know exactly what to say, what the pitch looks like, what the door approach looks like, what the close looks like, what the objections that are specific to, oh, I already have Terminex, or I already have this. It's like, yeah, you can kind of take their general sales training and compose it to you, but why not just learn from the best of the best? And that's like where we've just keep adding verticals. So I'm excited to see some of these new verticals pop up.
Yeah, which is cool. Well, it's awesome because it evolves too. Like we're always adding content like every week, new things. Because a pitch 5 years ago is probably not going to be the same pitch you're going to give today.
Well,
right?
take fiber. I mean, I was like, I think we have some telecommunications content, and I'm like looking at it. It's like talking about like DirecTV, and I'm like, I guess that's very different than fiber and streaming and internet speeds, and like, that's not good. So it's like the content we had 5 years ago, and that is not relevant to the stuff we're making now. And roofs, for example, the change of laws in Florida have changed many, many times. And so you're like, okay, how do I customize things? And what's cool is like we have many clients that are hiring us to consult them as a roofing company how to add solar. So maybe you start seeing more multi-service golden doors. I remember Jake Zimmerman, he had been a multi-product golden door winner, which is really cool. He earned a golden door in 2 different products one year. And that had never really been done. I've seen guys go from one industry to another and then that following year just be a top 1% in that industry their first year. But like to say I did 2.5 million in roofs and, earned a golden door in solar, or I did this many. I know a lot of guys doing alarms in solar. So like Jake Kelly, for example, he has a 50% adoption rate where it's like he'll sell 20 alarms in a week, 10 of them would get solar. It's like, well, that guy, if he did that consistently, you could get a double golden door, which would be really cool to see multi-channel.
Yeah, that would be amazing. So now let's kind of shift into let's go into the psychology of the golden door winner. I mean, there's a reason you're bringing on these guys to D2D that are multiple winners. Obviously, I feel like that's kind of the general theme of D2D 7 is winning. And I feel like there's no bigger win than a Golden Door Award for someone in this industry. So let's dive into the psychology of it. What does it really take to get there?
Well, I think like the logic of the Golden Door is to help you push for something bigger than a commission. In this industry, you make so much money that you'll get complacent and take these pest control guys. Like guys are hitting it. We're mid-September. They would have gone home. Like the goal was, I'm going to go get a Golden Door. And my end date is August 21st. Well, what happens when they aren't where they want to be? They could have chalked it up and been like, I'm at 550,000 and I made a ton of money, more than I've ever made as a young pest control sales guy. But they're like, but there's that extra push. I'm only 100,000 away. Might as well just like stay out for a little longer and figure it out. From a business owner's perspective, they're like, sweet, I don't have to do anything to convince the kid to stay out for $100,000 more. And he didn't have to he just had to find that little inner anxiousness to say, I want to be up on that main stage. And the fact that like people aren't promoting that heavily and they're recognized in front of thousands of people on an industry stage, it's cool to be the top rep of 100 sales reps. It's cool to be the top rep in your office. It's impactful when you can hang something on your wall that says, I was the top rep in the industry. And we verify these numbers. We've put these numbers in place, and we hope that everybody has integrity when they go down to putting and submitting for these. But like at the end of the day, like that is something so much bigger. And if I'm not playing for something bigger in life, and this is a general piece, like if I'm not playing in my business bigger, fitness bigger, life bigger, to say I'm like in the top 1%, like this translates and bleeds into all aspects of your life. And it's an opportunity to recreate yourself. If you said, I'm going to commit this year to Golden Door, and maybe you still have time. Like we're in September. You have October, November, December. I had a pest control guy hit it in December, in the snow, in Utah last year. You know what I mean? Like he's like, oh, it's over. I can't, and I'm like, no, you still have 4 months. Just because the summer isn't over doesn't mean you can't sell. And there's guys that sell year round to make sure they hit it. And so it's not like, oh, well, he did it in 3 months. It's like, okay, well, it just took the guy a year to do it. Still a Golden Door. Like you just did it shorter. That doesn't change, you know what I mean? Like congratulations. He decided to be more of a tortoise, and you decided to be more of a hare. Golden Door's a golden door, bro.
That's right. And what's cool is this really highlights, the power of your why as well, which is something that I've always heard you talk about. It's, because if your why is money, how far does that get you?
You're going to get so complacent.
So complacent. You're going to be a lead baby. You're going to be sleeping on the job. You're going to be walking to the gas station. Those are the people that work for money. But the people that work for a greater purpose than themselves, like being on stage, having that influence, because when you have that kind of accomplishment, people want to follow that. People want to be taught by the guy that is accomplishing something really big,
100%.
like a Golden Door Award, which I think is a huge reason why we also implemented the Golden Door Awards, why we're raising the standards constantly, why our ears are to the ground, and like what we need to be telling customers, how we should be selling. And it's clearly very powerful.
100%. And I think there's like an element of pride that one should take by doing it, but respect that others should give to those doing it. And I think a lot of times, like sales guys, when they're sucking and they're in their own little like victim mentality, like y'all do, we want to throw rocks. Well, he's shady, or he did it in this long, like, or if I could sell mosquito, whatever, right? And I'm like, I think that's just an opportunity to reflect. And you're like, why am I throwing rocks at the top performers? Am I looking at Ed Milet and being like, well, he does steroids, so therefore, but if I were born in Laguna, like, or if I'm like, now that it's just stupid. And how about if he could do it, I could do it.
Yeah.
How about we just take the mentality, if he could do it, I could do it. And every which way, I mean, this chick just did it, first year, female. I've had 16-year-olds hitting golden doors, juniors in high schools. I've seen, Mike O'Donnell, I remember the first door con. He's like, I'm giving away these awards. And he's like, what do I need to do to get one of those? And I was like, you have to do a megawatt. He's like, well, I did 2 megawatts. What happens then? I'm like, you get two of them. And we made what's called the double golden door. But like, older people to younger people to door knockers to lead gen guys. I mean, it's like the reality is, go figure out how to go put deals in and stop making excuses about why you're not putting deals in. That's just it. Like I don't think all salespeople are created equal. I think you give 10 homes to one guy and 10 homes to another guy, and there's an extremely different outcome that happens with the same people. And so the reality is start taking control, I think, is the real psychology here.
Yeah, you take the same people, the same product, and clearly different results, which means the approach is very different. So let's talk about, because I bet there's some new guys listening to this that are like, oh, well, like, that can't be me. Like, there's no way I could hit that many accounts my first summer. Talk to that. Like, what's this? Like, how can a new guy that's just getting in this industry achieve a golden door?
We've had many rookies hit it already this year, which is so cool. And big props. Like, I didn't do it till year 5. You know what I mean? Like, it took me 5 years to get to that level. It didn't even exist back then. We made it up. But I had the equivalent of that. And so I think what happens is people box themselves. I'm new to this, therefore I can't perform. So first off, change your identity to where time doesn't equal ability. It's effort and talent. So if I can increase talent by training, environment by belief, and then I can increase effort, meaning that guy that spent all year doing it, like, cool, he just took longer to do it. Doesn't like diminish anything. The incomes is still the same. So what's cool is it's like everyone has that opportunity, and I love seeing rookies. I love seeing people kind of say, bet, like, I'll do it. And we've had many, many rookies do it their very first year, which is really cool. So if you have this belief system that you can't, my recommendation would be start doing some internal work to build more self-worth, because that's going to translate into bigger net worth.
Absolutely. And now we can kind of speak to, because we see this a lot as well. We see a guy who's in the industry, and the year begins. He's at D2Dcon, gets super excited. I'm going to be up on that stage next year. But then he has a hard month in February. And then he's got a hard month in March. And then it's just kind of snowballing, and he wants to renegotiate on his goal. What do we do with that guy?
Yeah, maybe it's just not your year this year. But like, that's the thing though. Like, There's everybody that wants to say they want to play in the NBA. And then there's the people that actually put in the work and do the thing to be in the NBA. And like the cool part is NBA is super requirement on build. A lot of body athleticism kind of goes into that. Like you could be the most, like, you know, just by whoever, like there's some young, like what was it, Spud Webb, this McKee, what was that old, like the dude who played for the Hornets, it was like 5'3". You know, there are some Richardson, there's some small, weirdly just talented people that make it.
Just some genetic freaks.
Yeah, genetic freaks. But the reality is I've seen overweight to fit, I've seen female to young to old, everybody in all walks of life. You have a mouth, you can speak, great opportunity. I've seen people that can't even speak English, broken English get golden doors. And I'm like, bro, you like, I don't even understand you when you talk to me. Somehow you sold, okay, good job, bro. But here's the point. It comes down to what kind of person are you building yourself into? And if you're somebody that always just the second things get hard, because golden door is hard, like that is the point. The second things get hard, are you the one that caves? Or it's like you had a bad week, you know how to pick yourself up. You know the people you need to be mentored by. You know the environments you need to put yourself in. You know the training you need to do. You know the extra hours you need to put in to make it up. And somebody that does that 2-3 months consecutively, it's just now they're telling themselves that they really aren't committed. Because there's a difference between somebody that's like, I'm going to get a golden door, and they spout it out, and they're like, I'm manifesting that. And there's somebody that actually believes it and commits to it. That's the difference. You could take diet. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. Like, but then every time you're at McDonald's, you get the flurry. You know,
yeah.
It's like, no, you're not. But I earned it. I worked out hard this week. It's like, but how about you earn a good body by not having the McFlurry? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you give yourself all this, like, well, I'm going to take off today because it's Saturday. It's like, okay, then you're just telling yourself that you really don't deserve what the guys that are doing the golden door are doing. Because I guarantee you, watching and following them and their work ethic would outrun circles around you. Like 10 of them beat one of you. Some golden door guys do more than the entire companies do. Like, you know, a guy that does 200 solar deals, name me solar companies that you're doing 5 a month as a company.
Yeah.
A lot of them. So it's
right?
like, congratulations. This one dude beat your entire company as a sales guy and probably made a lot more than you did. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I think there's a misconception there. I think there's a difference between I got to be the owner, I got to be the top performer, and I got to be the manager. And those are all different hats to play. And I think you can play owner, top performer, and leader. That's a lot to juggle. Like Oscar with Lumio did that. He was the owner, triple golden door winner. You know what I mean? Like, did it all. But then there's guys that are like, hey, I'm a manager role. Like Mike O'Donnell this year took a step back, and last year took a step back and was like, I'm trying to create multiple golden door winners instead of me having to be on that stage every time. Which there's an ego death that needs to happen there, which is interesting.
Yeah. Which, should we create a golden door for people like that? For how many of your reps have made golden doors?
We've talked. I mean, there's industry awards. So at Door to Door Con, you guys can nominate biggest leader, best recruiter, you know, most improved. There's all sorts of like industry awards that we can leverage. But I think the economic and the tracking and the subjectivity that would go into that would be so high, where there's already subjectivity going into the golden door winner.
Yeah.
To where it's a little bit hard to play judge. That being said, we do have, you know, all sorts of other programs like the league that we'll be highlighting, most recruits, most trained hours. So the league that we're launching here coming up in a month or two is really an opportunity to create better masterminds between reps, leaders, and then there's the owners. And there's different divisions by industry and by skill level. We'll have like D1, D2, D3, and then we'll have like Circle 1, Circle 2, you know, higher levels that wants to go deep. And then people that are just like, I got in 6 weeks ago. We still want to have like a community for you guys to lean on.
Yeah. And so much of like what you've been talking about with Golden Door has to do with identity, has to do with work ethic. And it's powerful to create a community like the league where you can constantly better yourself. You're training with people that are actually doing what you want to be doing as well. You're surrounding yourself with that greatness. You're surrounding yourself with those wins. You're constantly accumulating that. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to see some massive results with it, which is very exciting.
100%. So kind of put a bow on this, a couple things. One, get your ticket to Door to Door Con. And I'm not trying to like sell you. Like at the end of the day, I think it's an ego thing why you wouldn't go. And I think it's an excuse why you wouldn't go. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. Oh, why would I learn that? And I'm like, okay, then why did all the top reps go? Like there's your first part of becoming a golden door, showing up why the golden doors would show up and train and learn and speak. Why would that should even give you more excuse to train and learn and speak. And that's from a business owner's perspective and from a rep's perspective. But then it's like the real point that I'm trying to make right now is we have an opportunity to come together as an industry to support one another and celebrate each other's success. I think so many people throw rocks at, oh, well, that company and this company, and they're so cutthroat. Instead of saying, can we take the jerseys off for a second? We're all one tribe. And we congratulate, like, way to be. Like, I mean, it might have been your competitor in your backyard and you were knocking the same street. And you're like, yep, I saw a lot of his signs and not a lot of my signs, but good for him. You know what I mean? Like, take down the gloves for a second, get out of the boxing ring. And like, there's an opportunity. There's no recruiting. There's no logos. There's no swag. It's a neutral event where you can come as a team and really like celebrate this industry. And I think that's what people need to like remember and embody, because if we're not doing that, there's too many bad apples in this industry that give it such a hard rap, like from news stories to legal battles to whatever. And we're only trying to highlight those that are really doing it right. And we've had to call some people out. We've had to revoke Golden Doors. We've had to throw people out of the event. Like, we've had to unfortunately do that with the wrong intentions, but I hope that everybody that signs up is coming with the right mission. And I'm excited for Roz to host a new series called the Golden Door Deep Dive. So tell us a little bit about what you're going to do.
Yeah, so basically we have so many people that are hitting the Golden Door right now. We want to dive into their story. We want to know what it took for them to get to the Golden Door. We want to know exactly what it took. And that way they can hopefully inspire others, create that unity that you talked about. So that way there's no backlash, there's no rocks thrown, that they can tell their story exactly how it is, and we can know what it takes to really get there.
And there's still going to be people, there's like, I guarantee you there's Golden Door winners that are going to have an ego and they're going to think they're the coolest thing since sliced bread, and they're going to not want to participate. And that's cool. The people in our league, in our tribe, and on our podcast are those that have an abundance mindset. Let me say it one more time. An abundance mindset. The companies that don't come, the companies that don't participate, the companies that want to hide their reps, they want to be like, oh, shelter us. Don't tell them that it's out there. They have a scarcity mindset. Go look up the definition of those two words. And if your manager or your owner or any of you are thinking, why would I share my tips and tricks? Why would I go to an event and collaborate with other companies? Why would I then just go research the topic and say, okay. So that's all I got to say on that point. And so what's cool is Roz has found a lot of Golden Doors are wanting to share their practices. They're wanting to give their pitch and share. And so on our D2D University, we're creating an entire Golden Door training series. And then we're also creating this podcast where we'll pull nuggets and we'll say, how do we give tips and tricks from the best of the best? And that's how this originated. Hence, this is episode 300 and something of 7-8 years of podcasts that we've really dove in deep to say we want to add as much value and be the industry leaders in providing for all door-to-door sales.
Exactly. And Sam, before we let you go, because we're going to be running low on time here, let's rewind the clock back. 9 years, 2014. The year you did 400 alarms with Vivint. It wasn't the first time it had been done, but it was the first time that you had done it. Yeah. And it definitely set the precedent moving forward for, what the top 1% do in that industry specifically. But tell me the story behind that.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I never thought about being number one. I never thought about being 400. I actually had my goal to do 300. I don't think nobody knows this. My goal was to do 300 accounts and go home. Well, I did 100 in the preseason. So then I'm like, okay, I only needed 200 in the season. So again, tortoise in the hare. I never was the dude doing 50 in a week, 40 in a week. My best week was 29. So I think a lot of people think they're like, Sam, you must be so good. I'm like, no, I was just damn consistent. I'd go out on a preseason trip every month. I'd do my accounts and I'd go home. And then all of a sudden I was still at number one halfway through the summer, and I was beating my goals, having better weeks than I was expecting. And I was like, well, maybe I'll up my goal to 350, assuming somebody was going to pass me. I was like, people are creeping up behind me. I just had a good head start. And come, August, I'm still number one. I was like, damn, nobody's caught me. And I was like, and I'm sitting at 3, something. And I'm like, dude, I could do 100 this month, or I could have a big, let's just have a big month. And I was like, I'm going to go all out. And I remember a distinct point where it's I can either coast the rest of the year out or the summer, or I can really put my pedal to the metal. One sounded way more appealing than the other. Made a ton of money, easier, way easier. Like, you know, and I didn't want to set the number 400 because if I did 350 or 370, I would have felt bad. And I think a lot of times that like guilt of like putting the goal 400 and then only hitting 370, there's some guilt there. So it's like, why set the goal in the first place? So I go a week, had a big week, and I was like, damn it, is this the sign? I just need to do 400. So I set 400 at 3 weeks left, and 2 weeks till the end of the summer, Ty, who's in second place, Ty Bastion, goes, you got it in the bag. I'm having a baby. Got to go home. We're done. I was like, oh, fetch. So I knew I was number one. I could have finished at 370 and been good, number one.
So the universe starts testing you right there.
At that point, that was a huge test. That was like, darn it. What do I do now? And I just like, I'm going to keep selling. So I said, I'm going to do 400. I went out. I did the 400. And I remember the last day, I had my entire car packed. All I needed was one more deal. I'm at $399. I was like, I probably should do 2 deals in case one cancels. And I go out, and it was afternoon, and a guy did I did a 4-banger, and he got his house and 3 businesses, and I finished at 403. And I was like, I have to tell you the honest truth. I take a selfie. My whole car's packed. Come check out my car. It's like filled to the brim.
You're going home.
You know, I'm gonna drive straight to Utah. And anyway, that's what I did. And I think a lot of times people don't see the hurt. I broke my ankle that summer. I was doing it on crutches for 2 weeks. I was managing a team of 30 sales reps. I think a lot of people don't see the blood, sweat, and tears, but I couldn't have done it with without a good team, a good company, a good culture, and a lot of great tournaments that we played in. You know what I mean? Like my ex-wife was supporting. You know what I mean? Like all of the things have to line up. You know, and I think that a lot of times, you know, that divine intervention with the adversary and God's like, no, dude, you can do this. Like just that extra little wind every day. Like I'm just grateful for those moments. But then I look back and everybody's like, aren't you glad you did it? Mm-hmm. Where so many people would have quit 370 and regretted, where I just want to live life with no regrets. And I was like, dude, I got first and hit this number. Now I can use that for, I mean, that was 2014. This is 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That I'm still using the story. Could have I used the story had I not done that?
No. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. I truly believe that set a good precedence for you for the rest
of my life.
Exactly. Because, and it's also a repentance for you as well, because I'm going to tell Sam's story here. The year prior, 298.
Facts. I never did 300. That's why I was like, my goal is 300 because I did 298 and I regret. And Mendez said, you're going to regret this. I'm calling him. I'm like, bro, I have to come home. He's like, what? You're at 298. I was like, I'm already in the car. Where are you at? I'm like 3 hours out of Amarillo. He's like, wait, you've already left? I was like, yeah.
I'm going to do the accounts in Utah.
Yeah, I'm going to do them in Utah. He's like, well, turn around. Go back. I was like, no, dude, I'll just do 2 accounts. Like, I'm good. Never did them. And I think there's something to be said there. I think that I needed to learn that lesson the year prior because it taught me like, dude, you're going to regret that and you're going to say you're going to do it. But that's just procrastination, excuse, and all the other stupid, like dumb things our mind plays tricks on us to be an underperformer.
Exactly. And your past mistakes don't define you.
No.
You did that, but then the next year you came back and then you passed the test.
100%. So, yeah, that was a good story. Hopefully you got, guys, hopefully you got some value out of this. Like, I look at this in the sense of like, there's so much that we're learning and we're doing and we're figuring out, and it's fun to see this industry evolve over time. And I'm grateful to be a part of it and blessed. And I love everybody supporting, and I love what this has turned into. And I think there's only up from here in the sense of like where things are going and how things are professionalizing. And it's just so fun to involve everybody. And I'm grateful that you're stepping up and doing the podcast and other people. And so you guys will see new faces. You'll see new opportunities to get on show, and whether it's you're the host or you're the guest. But excited to see everybody out in January and celebrate this awesome year. So
absolutely. Well, guys, this has been the D2D podcast, the Golden Door Deep Dive segment. So we appreciate you all, and we'll see you at D2D Con this January.
Much love. See ya.